will turn it over to Pat and Andrew. They're from Home Depot. They've been wonderful in helping us out with not only these seminars, but they also help us with our home improvement fairs that we have every other year in February. And the next one we'll have is 2016. So we hope to see you there. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. This is my third one this summer participating in it. It's great to see such a huge turnout. My name is Pat McDonald. I'm the project specialist at Home Depot, which doesn't mean anything to you. And this is Andrew. Andrew is in the process. Also, I just wanted you to know that he is training to be a fireman. Yeah. I'm very proud of that.
Start with Minneapolis Fire Department.
So I'm going to turn it over to Andrew and let him take it away. Okay?
Good afternoon. Andrew Blagan. I've been with Home Depot for coming on 2 years now. I started out in flooring because I've worked with my dad many years doing all sorts of different things from flooring to building full houses. So I got a very good knowledge of installation of flooring and the prep and maintenance of stuff like that. I currently work in the deliveries and orders department right now, so you place an order online, I'm the guy that pulls it or drives it out to your house. I'm going to start out by just explaining some of the products that we have that are necessary for installation of tile, and then get into some of the details about the tiles themselves. So starting out with the tools, we have what are called trowels. They are what you use to spread the mortar or the adhesive that holds the tile down. We have different styles and different sizes. Each one has different operations. So like one is made for more larger tiles. So like we got a square notch trowel. This is gonna be for bigger tiles from 12 inches up to 18 by 18. Then we got the V-notch trowel, which is more for small little grout or mortar lines that are gonna give you more adhesive. So like you got Backsplash, our Backsplash tiles, these guys need a little more adhesive because they're gonna be sitting at a horizontal side on the wall. Well, then we get into the floats. Grout floats are what you use to fill in the gaps between the tiles after you set them. We have different kinds of floats. We got real cheap ones, which we get a lot of contractors that come in and they'll buy the cheap ones just because it's easier for them just to use it and then throw it away instead of spend 20 minutes trying to clean out the grout, because it is kind of sticky sometimes. This one is a premium grout float, very great. It's got rounded edges so you can get those nice concave gaps in between the tiles instead of just getting like a flat surface. This makes great for that. And some of our small hand tools, I've used these far more than I've ever used my tile saw. Tile cutter, this works great for ceramic tiles or little guys like this. Cuts them right down the middle. You just gotta make sure you get a good straight score line on it to make that cut straight. Compound tile nipper, these are more like, say you just got done cutting a tile and there's a little jagged edge. We use this and it puts small pressure with very little compression to the handle and cuts that piece right off at that point. And the final one is glass tile nipper. This one is great for if you got tiles like this. You don't want to get down and really getting your hands real close to that tile saw blade. So you use this and you just put the glass piece right in between it, squeeze, and it cracks it right down that middle line. Then we get into some of the tile spacers. Spacers are meant to make those gaps between the tiles. Everyone's got more of a preference on what they want. If they want really low or thin spacing lines, grout lines, it's going to make it a little more unison. You're not going to see big gaps between the tiles. It's more of that aesthetic look is what it does. But if you get into large tiles, 18 by 18 tiles, and it's an entryway or something, you're going to want some kind of gap in there. So I usually recommend anything above 1/4 of an inch to bigger. Just because what grout lines actually will do is like you step on that tile, it's going to allow that gap or that compression and that movement to happen without cracking any tiles or movement of the tiles popping out or anything. So if you don't got big grout lines in high traffic areas, then your tile is going to fall apart after a few years. Some of our other tools, the mortars and grouts. There's a big difference between mortars and grout. Mortar, like I said, is the glue. It's that adhesive that holds the tile down. We have different kinds of mortar. Each bag has got a specific job. So like this one here, This is Flex Bond. It's probably one of my favorite. It is great for high traffic areas, places where there's that possibility of the changing in temperatures. So basement bathrooms, right in an entryway where you got cold gusts of air constantly coming in Minnesota, our weather is constantly up and down, up and down. The Flex Bond is great for any kind of job like that. You can even use it outside because it allows that expansion and contraction to happen without cracking the tile. Where like you use some of our other ones, VersaBond, which is another same company, custom building products, but it's more just basic. So like say you want to just do a backsplash in the kitchen, you can use that, put it right on. Or you just want to get something done real quick, VersaBond sets fast and gets you down. Everything though, I still recommend after you've set the mortar down on the ground and you set your tiles, give it 24 hours to fully cure before you start grouting or you start walking on it. Because it needs that time. If you start grouting, that mortar, it starts to want to shrink or contract and pull the tile to the ground. If you put grout in there, it's not going to have enough space in between the grout is going to start to separate from the tile because that tile is getting pulled. And then we have different grouts. We have sanded grout and non-sanded grout. Sanded grout is more for large tiles or any kind of porcelain or ceramic or even stone. It fills in gaps a lot better. So if you get big grout lines, it's going to fill it in a lot better. And it's going to last a lot longer because it's got more strength built into it. Non-sanded is for small grout lines for like say our backsplashes. It's great for glass tile too because it's not going to scratch the tile. Where sanded will scratch it all up and you're not going to have a very good job finished at the end. And then we get into our Premix stuff. We have our Premix grout, which it's a sanded grout, so still if you're going to use it for a backsplash, make sure it's not a glass tiled backsplash. But it's great because it's already mixed in there, saves you a lot of money and a lot of hassle on having to sit there with an auger and mixing the stuff yourself. Yep. And then we get into our pre-mixed mortars. Omni Grip is my favorite because it holds very well and you can use it in almost any area. We have two different kinds of premix, Omni Grip and Acryl-Pro. Acryl-Pro you can't use in any area where there's a possibility of moisture because it doesn't hold the tile to the wall once that moisture hits it. Omni Grip on the other hand, I've used this stuff on shower floors and it holds great. Once again, pre-mixed so you don't have to worry about having to mix it yourself. Another note too with the mixing it yourself ones, when you do, you want a consistency of a peanut butter. So just, we sell an auger or like a paddle spinner. You just hook it up to your drill, fill in the bucket with a little bit of the mortar or the grout powder, add a little bit of water just till you start getting that consistency of that peanut butter and you're just gonna start auging it or taking the auger and mixing it up. And then we get into this stuff right here. This is what's called Grout Shield. What you do is when you can only use it with the mix it yourself ones. You add it in with the the grouts that you have, and it puts a chemical in there that makes it so you don't have to seal your tile afterwards. So it saves a lot of time, and I was mentioning to the lady here that with tile, there's certain tiles that need to be sealed over a span of 12 to 18 months, every 12 to 18 months. Stone is one of the big ones. Stone is very porous, so you want to use a sealer that's going to fill those pores. This, on the other hand, you put this in there, it's going to seal the grout lines. So it's still not going to work too well with stone unless you coat it all over the stone and then wipe it off later, but that's a lot of grout that you're going to be wasting there. But these are the two spray sealers. This one is just your basic sealer. It's more for ceramic tile and porcelain because they are, even though porcelain and ceramic are both man-made tiles, they still have very tiny pores in them that you still have to fill. So you spray this on, give it about a minute to 2 minutes of letting it sit on there, and take a soft cloth, a microfiber cloth, and just wipe off any kind of haze that's left over. This one is more for the heavy-duty tiles, a lot of stones. This one's going to fill in the gaps in those voids a lot better than this one will. Another new product is the Simple Mat. This is for those that don't want to get their hands dirty with all this stuff. What it is a mat, pretty much, that you take it, it's double-sided, Peel off the white side, stick it to your wall. Just line up your whole entire wall with it, or the area you want your backsplash done. And when you're ready to tile, you just peel off this plastic side and expose the beads. And you line your tiles up and place it right on there. Finish with that, you can go right to grouting right afterwards. You don't have to give it that 24 hours of waiting. So it saves you a lot of time in doing it. And we have 2 different sizes. We got the box here that covers, I believe, 9 square feet. Yep, 9 sheets. And then this one is 30 square feet. Price, I think this guy runs probably about $15 to $20, where this one's looking about $30 to $40. So definitely.
Like for a bathroom wall too?
Yep. Yep. I wouldn't put it in the shower or any area where there's that possibility of that moisture, just because it's just like a tape. Once that moisture gets in.
For that.
Yep. More the backsplash, that's what I recommend.
So what's the strength comparison between the simple mat and the mortar?
Hands down, the mortar is going to be your best bet all around. It's going to be, because the mortar is a concrete-based mix, so it is going to grab on that tile and it's going to hold it very well. This, it's very sticky, but I've seen after 5-6 years that this stuff starts to kind of want to peel away, just because over time that weight will start to peel away. Or if you put it on sheetrock, the paper will start to peel. Whereas the concrete, it's going to be a solid, pretty much a solid wall built right there that it's not going to topple over or pop off.
Back to the mortar a second. The Flex Bond and the
Yep.
Premix stuff, is the Premix stuff as flexible as the Flex Bond, and does it have that additive in it?
No, it does not. The Flex Bond is going to, once again, it's going to have that polymer modified additive in it.
Right.
It gives it that strength that it's going to hold.
Premix does not have that.
No, the Premix is more just a glue is what it is. So it's
So for
worse
the
than
hot and cold variations, you'd say mix it yourself?
Yep. Yep. Hands down, I'm going to always say mix it yourself. If you're doing something that you want to last, it's going to be there for your time of the house, then premix or mixing it yourself is always going to be best. Any other questions about the tools?
Actually, Andrew, I had a question about the sealer.
Yeah.
Once you seal, say a few years down the road, if you want to reseal again, is that okay to do that?
Oh yeah, no, and that's one thing. Like I was saying, with sealing, certain tiles, mortar or stones, stone tile, every 12 to 18 months you want to reseal a stone tile. With ceramic and porcelain, you can usually go 2-3 years without having to reseal it, but I still recommend doing it every year, just because, say it's in a shower or something, that constant water coming down, it's gonna, think of like a piece of glass in the ocean. That constant water going over it and it starts to smooth it out. That's what happened with a shower hitting the wall of a bath, or the water hitting the shower. Water hitting the wall of the bathroom. There we go, I knew I was gonna get it. But with that constant water hitting it, it's gonna wear that sealant away. So once again, every 12 to 18 months, I still recommend resealing it. And the bottles are, I think, $13, and they can usually cover 2-3 years of sealing.
Is it worth doing it if you haven't known that and haven't done it in years?
Oh, definitely.
That's what I was thinking.
Yep. No, like it's, I mean, you can look at certain tiles and you can tell, like a lot of the ceramic and the porcelains, they will last. They will hold up to that water and stuff, but I would first clean it with a good cleaning solution. We have tile cleaners, but a lot of, I don't know, like Tilex. I wouldn't use that on most tiles because it does wreak havoc on the grout. It starts to eat it away a little bit, the acid solution in it. But the cleaners that we have at the store or any of your hardware stores for tile, they will be specifically designed for grout and for tile. So I would use that on the tile that you're looking to reseal, and then come back and seal it up and should be golden to go. Now, I'm gonna get into the differences between the tiles. One you guys may know, subway tiles. They are been around for ages. They are still very popular. People still love this look. It's that little 4x4 square tile look. Ceramic tiles, they aren't best for cold environments because ceramic, the way they make ceramic is they have little beads that are compressed real tight together. That changing in temperatures, that constant up and down, like I say, you can't use it outside because Minnesota, like I said, up and down weather for us. That changing in temperatures, it doesn't allow that expansion and contraction to happen very well with the beads that they made it together so tight. So after a while, you'll just see a lot of those ceramic tiles just crack right down the middle. And that's because they have nowhere to go. They've been so stressed, they just break. Where with porcelain, porcelain has been around for a while. It's a man-made product once again, but they make it with large beads that will actually compress against each other and expand. So they actually allow that movement. You can even use this stuff outside on deck patio, like a picnic table deck or top like that. I've seen people even use them for outside little patios. Still, you'd want to use, I'd recommend patio stones over these guys just because patio stones are going to have a lot more strength. But you can use these outside. We have lots of different styles of porcelain and ceramic even. This is a newer one. It's called premium porcelain. It's just a little bit thicker than most tiles. It's got a little better or more modern designs built through it. And most people nowadays, we are getting more to the 12 by 24. People like to see that kind of that that brick pattern, the kind of yeah, that's kind of gotten a little more popular nowadays because it gives a little more aesthetic look over the checkerboard pattern, which you see that checkerboard pattern and it's just blah, it's just there. It's not as exciting kind of. Then this is another ceramic tile. You can tell to the ceramic from the backs of it. This is a red clay ceramic. It's less strength. You can use it for the floor because it is a 12 by 12, so it's got enough area that it can expand or disperse that weight when you step on it, where you can't use these guys for the floor because they're just too small. You step on them, they don't have enough area that they can spread that weight across it. They'll just start to crack. Red clay porcelain or ceramic is a little older. They are starting to use gray clay porcelain or ceramic now, so it gets a little more strength, but still porcelain is going to have the better durability, hands down. With the squares is one way you can tell too, compared to the circles on these guys. And get into our other two, stone. This is slate. Great, great tile. It's been around for a very long time. I love stone myself. Sometimes it can be a little tricky to work with. You need a very good tile saw to cut a lot of them so that they don't flake off or chip as easily. Slate is a pretty easy one to chip and flake just because it is built in layers, kind of, or cut from a big, huge stone in more layers. Where marble, they kind of laser cut it out and give it perfect dimensions all the way around. No voids, no gaps compared to this guy. But being as they're both stone, they are both very porous. So a lot of water or moisture will get into those voids, and that's when we need to seal the tile very well so that those voids can't collect that water, build mold and mildew over time. So, and that's why I said every 12 to 18 months, reseal stone. Our final one are our mosaics. Mosaics are a lot more of the backsplashes. They range from coming in glass to stone to porcelain and ceramic. I've even seen metal too. Great for the decorative look. You don't want to do a whole entire wall just because it can get a little busy, but a lot of backsplashes are great for the mosaics. I mean, you can even use these guys for backsplashes if you'd like, but a little area like that, something like this is going to be beautiful looking up there. I guess I want to mention like the saws and the the cutting tools. This, I actually just bought this one myself here a few weeks back. Phenomenal saw. A little pricey, but if you're looking to do something a little more heavy duty, you want to do a full entryway. Our store doesn't, but I know the Richfield store has tool rentals, and they do rent out tile saws like this. Otherwise, we do have tabletop saws, which work great. I've used them myself in the past many times. But if you're looking to something a little more powerful that's going to cut tile after tile after tile with no problem at all, one of these guys are great. But I've always used this guy far more than I've used my saws. This is a hand cutting tool. Branch, you take the tile you want, set it on. Set it where you want it. You take the scoring blade, cut it across, and you just push down. Cuts it right in half. One thing difference between this and that, the tile saw is always going to cut off 1/8 of an inch extra of what you want because the blade itself is going to rip that section off. This, you can get exactly perfectly 6 by 6 pieces if you were looking for that. And like I was saying, so like right here, this section has a little bit of a chip kind of sticking out. That's where I would take my compound nippers and clip that piece and kind of even it out so it's nice and smooth. Or you can use, we have files that you can use too to file it down. I use it a lot of times for the glass pieces just because cutting them with the saw, glass pieces get very sharp. You just use that file and just shave it up a little bit.
Will that work for that marble or stone?
No, this is ceramic and porcelain. I believe this one says stone, but where did I see it? I was just looking at it today, saying something about, I think it was on the tag out store then. But with stone, it's gonna be a little more tricky just because stone is, it's not man-made, or it's not set up like these guys. Where these, you can cut it in that perfect line without any big jags happening out because it's man-made. It's got those little beads and they're put uniform all the way across. Where stone is just a wild mess of the years of the stone growing together. So you trying to get a perfect cut with that, with this, it's gonna be real tricky. Just because you can get pieces that would jag off, and then you have to use those tile nippers to kind of clip it and even it out all the way around. So, it's the products and the tiles. Is there any questions about this stuff?
Excuse me, question on your stone tile?
Yeah.
What's a good cleaner to use before you seal it?
With these, we have, it's Nano Scrub is what it's called. Nano Scrub. It's a little more heavy duty cleaner. You're gonna wanna make sure you wear gloves with it just because it is, I'm trying to think, it's not an acidic solution because those will actually ruin the tiles.
Take off grease and things like that?
Yeah, it's gonna clean it very well.
Is
It's
it
gonna get
different
right
than
down.
like TSP?
No, TSP though, that is a phenomenal product. If you get that stuff will clean this stuff great. I didn't know about that until just recently. Another associate was just telling me about it, and I'm like, it's for paint stripping. I'm like, why would we use it for tiles? So give it a
won't
shot.
hurt the tile.
No, it won't. No, I use it myself a bunch of times for the tiles. So yeah, if you look at
Everything,
what's that?
all of them?
Yep. TSP is, it's meant for stripping paint almost, but I mean, I've used it cleaning tiles. I even use it in my dishwasher because it's safe after water has washed it off and everything, but it cleans very well. Yep. All right. So, there's no more questions about the tiles and the products.
What are you talking about? Cost of that hand saw versus your
This guy.
Cadillac over there?
So we got different kinds of styles of these. This is more the heavy duty one. This is a 24-inch tile cutter. This one I think ranges about $150 to $200. The tile saw is $400. But we get ones that drop down to, it's like this is the mobile or portable job site saw. We got one that's a tabletop saw, which is like a table saw. It's got the blade that sticks up and you just slide the tiles right through. Where this has a base, you slide the tile through with that. The tabletop saws, one I recommend is the Ryobi. It's a Ryobi 7-inch. I think it's like $99. I've used it a bunch of times before I got this. And yeah, it's a little loud and you're gonna wanna make sure you got ear protection just because it's got a nice whine to it. But it works great for cutting tiles.
Are they dry or?
They're wet. So every one of them, you will fill the bottom of them up with water. This one has a portable pump to it that sucks the water up from here and kicks it right up through a little hole right here and drops it right on the blade. We do sell hand saw, little tile hand saws. So it's almost like a little circular saw, about yay big. With those, you just want to make sure you got a bottle of water or something, pouring it on the tile as you're cutting, just because the blades will heat up very fast. Tile saws, so the difference between the tile saw and like a table saw or any other kind of cutting saw, tile saws cut with heat. So they spin fast enough, the blades have no teeth to them. They are full circle blades that they spin so fast they will cut the tile with heat instead of the actual like a jagged tooth. One of the other flooring associates, we were doing a job for one of our associates who was injured here recently. Went out and we did a full bathroom remodel for him. We were cutting tiles and he told me that no matter what, tile saw will never cut off your finger. It might get you a little burn, but it's not meant to cut your finger off. Still not willing to test it out, but yeah, I'm like, I think my fingers are good. I'm just gonna keep them away from the blade.
And maybe addressing the challenges of like patching broken areas of the floor versus, fresh floor, put it all down. And guess what? My whole bathroom floor are the little tiles.
Okay. With that, removing tiles are fairly easy. If you got, we have different tools. We didn't grab them, but they're grout saws. It's a little hand tool. You sit there and you scrape away the grout all the way around the tile. I recommend sitting there for a good hour or two, sitting there with that grout saw trying to shave away the grout. Spend $40, get a little Dremel, and then buy the tile saw blade. It's a little drill bit. Those Dremels work wonders. You just rip right through all the grout that you need. Then you just take a very thin chisel or a little crowbar, and you're gonna pop that tile up. I've even taken just like a hammer, broke that tile that you want up, broke it up a little bit, popped all the pieces out, dropped in a new one with the, that's a sign or situation that you can use that Omni Grip then. It's just a little spot you want, and you don't want to spend money and the time to have to mix up a whole batch of mortar. Omni Grip or even, what's that stuff? It's a Power Grab. It's a caulk kind of solution. We sell it in our paint department. It's like liquid nails almost. But that stuff works great for that kind of thing too. I actually use the liquid nail or the Power Grab to bind the mirror and stuff onto the board.
I have a question. When you're talking about the nano scrub now, that you'd be cleaning the tile
Yep.
and the grout of that.
Yep, you'd be cleaning it all up.
And then just rinse it off and
So
make sure it's clean.
we get like a little coffee can or something, put some of the nano scrub in there. I don't believe it has to be diluted with water, but get a good sponge. Like this one is a scrub sponge. It's great for, it's like our kitchen sink sponges. Got good bristle side and the soft side. Use the nano scrub and just scrub the tiles in circular motion, just clean them up a little bit. After a while, it should be nice and good, and then you can start sealing it.
After it's dry,
Yes.
totally, then you can start
Yep.
sealing. And then, can you use the same sealer on, because I've got both stone and porcelain.
Yep,
You know.
you can't, so you can use the maximum strength, the dark green bottle,
Right.
on all of them. You don't want to use the light one on stone, just because it's not as strong.
Okay. And I've got a piece of grout that's like, looks like it's not grouted, even with the rest of them, do I need to take like the Dremel, clean that out and just re-grout that area?
Yep, you can do that.
Okay, you don't want to go over that.
No, I mean, if it's dropped in, like if it's deep enough that you can get a good amount of grout in there so it sticks in, then you don't have to Dremel it out or clean out that grout. But if it's a tiny little gap, I would recommend just cleaning it all out and just getting some more and popping it in there.
Okay.
So you know how like if you're patching cement steps or something outside, eventually the new like patch comes apart from the old stuff. So is it grout, will new grout stick to old grout?
Nope, and that's what she was just asking.
Yes, that's what
Yep. If it's deep enough that the grout line is deep enough that there's enough void in there that the grout will grab onto the tile, then it's enough. But if it's just a little divot or something, I would recommend just cleaning that whole thing out and just filling in with new grout.
What do you use for cutting tile if you don't want cut all the way through a nice straight line, you want a notch, a curve or something to go around an outlet box?
Yep. We have what are called saber saw blades. They are, you can use a jigsaw, and pretty much you just pop it in your jigsaw. Once again, get a bottle of water because it's going to heat up real fast, and you just cut that area out that you want. Otherwise, you can use, we have drill bits too, that you can cut perfect circles through tiles. With making a square, I would recommend drilling 4 corners with the bit and then cutting the lines, because it's hard to actually make that turn unless you pre-drill the spots so you can get that angle in there. But
So when you drill the spots, what drill bit do you use?
it's a drill bit designed for tile. Yep, once again, it's not like normal drill bits, how they're got that little auger look to
You
them.
can use a regular drill though.
Yep, you can use a regular drill. What these ones are, they look like a pencil, the cap of a pencil or a pen or something, and they just have a little bit of diamond, kind of diamond shards at one end, so they're going to burn once again with heat, cutting in through it.
How about those drill bits? Is there like regular bits, if they get dull, you can sharpen them?
Nope, once these ones get dull, they are finished. Yep. All right, I'm going to move on to showing you how to do a little bit of tiling. And I am going to be using the Omni Grip and our premixed grout here. Another neat little tool. So pretty much these, we just got them at the Home Depot. I bought mine about a week or so on the Home Depot website, and then we get them in the store. So I waited an extra week for them to come in the mail when they were all at store ready. But what it is, it's interchangeable kit. So you got all the different trowels that you need. It even comes with the grout floats. So pretty much say, I'm getting ready to tile, come in, grab the one I want, lock it in, good to go. Get done with that, put it back in the bucket, grab my grout float, good to go. This bucket, so we sell each piece individually, or we sell it in this whole kit. I think it was like $30, and great tool. Hart is a phenomenal vendor. They've been giving us a lot of great new tools at the store. This one has little holes at the bottom, so all you gotta do is you got your blades that are all dirty, put them in there, take a hose and just spray it down, and it cleans them right up. You can even close up just kind of get like something put on the bottom and just kind of shake it around, and it should help clean up the blades a little bit easier too. So I'm working with 12 by 12 tile. Like I said, each grout float's got, or trowel has different job. This is a 1/4 by 1/4 by 3/8 is what it's called. So it's a 1/4 inch high by 1/4 inch wide and 3/8 on the trowel, the top edge. And we got 2 sides. We got the trowel notch side and we got the butter side. Notch side is more for getting those good trowel lines built in there. The butter side is to spread it out a little bit more, get it across the table. And my favorite tool, these little guys. Pretty much pick up your tile. Once you get it set in, you can pretty much use that and shift it around instead of sitting there trying to use your fingers, getting it all in the mortar or the or the mastic that you got.
What is that thing called? What's it called?
This?
Yeah, call it this little guy.
Suction cup, or handled suction cup, I think is what they have listed. But every store should carry something like this. They're meant for, a lot of times, the larger tiles. I know they even have some of these down in the window department, or in the millwork department, so you can like shift windows and stuff like that. So, like I said, Omni Grip, it's pretty much just glue. It's like Elmer's paste. Take off a big glob of it. And you just spread it out in the area that you want to do. When you're working, I recommend work in a 3x3 section. So 12 by 12 tiles, you're going to do 3 tiles, so almost 9 tiles. and then move on to the next section. That way you're not using more or filling the whole area with the mortar or the mastic and wasting it. So say I'm working here, this stuff is starting to dry by the time I'm getting over to it. Pretty much spread it across so you get a nice even amount all the way. And then when you take the notch side, get it like a 45-degree angle, and you'll see certain areas where you need to retouch it up.
How thick do you put that on?
Pretty much when you're first setting it on there, just throw as much on there to get it nice and even across. But when you go to clear it away, like I said, 45-degree angle, push it right to the wood, and it'll make perfect lines so that you get little exposed areas in the wood, just like that. And that's enough that it's going to be enough adhesive to grab onto the tile. And pretty much take your tile and just push it right into place. Yep. So one thing, like when you put it in there, I put the glob on, I'll usually start out by spreading it across the area that I'm going to be working. And then when it's pretty much the point where I'm ready to start setting tile, make like arcs in it. It gives a little more strength. So straight lines, I don't know, I don't know the whole science in it, but like, guys, this is the way my dad always taught me when I was younger, is if you do arcs, it's going to be less of what's the word I'm looking for? It's going to be a little more adhesive and a different shape. So think of it like you are putting a post in the ground. If you put a straight tube, it's not going to have as much strength. Whereas if you just take the shovel and you start making wild designs down there, it's going to have a lot more area and different parts sticking out. So this is similar to that, and you're going to have a different design than what the tile is. So the tiles are straight squares. You're going to have wild designs kind of going through it. It's going to give it a little more strength.
What kind of material can you put it on? I mean, you've got it on plywood now.
Yep, plywood. What I recommend, so we didn't bring any with, but it's called backer board. It's a concrete board. It's meant for high traffic areas because it's going to give it a little more strength. So what you do is you put that down or clear out the area you're going to lay the tile. You're going to use a mortar and you're going to spread it out same as this. Then you're going to put your backer board down on top of that. And then you're going to you can either screw it down to hold it a little bit more in place, and then you're going to put more mortar on top of the backer board. So say that this is our backer board. I would have adhesive or the mortar or the mortar underneath this to bond it to the floor. And then I'm going to put mortar again on top of it and then put the tiles. And what that's going to do is, since the backer board is a solid piece of concrete board, any void underneath that board, say you step in that spot, it's going to push down that backer board into that hole. So that's why we fill underneath the backer board with mortar too, because it's going to fill any tiny little void that might be there, so you don't break your tiles.
They have like a mesh underneath my tiles. What is that for?
I'm trying to think. Chances are it's like I know they used a lot of that old, almost like they're laying concrete. They'd put like rebar through it nowadays. They used to use like an old mesh wire almost. It's a similar situation, gives it a little bit of strength, makes it so that you're stepping on a spot, you're not just gonna be popping that one tile down. It's gonna.
How thick the back would board be?
So if you're doing it in an entryway, as far as you can go down, or as your door can open without getting obstructed, I usually recommend, I think we have 1/4 inch and 1/2 inch backer board.
So a subfloor with that on top is sufficient?
Yep, that is perfect. And I recommend backer board anytime in a high traffic area, so as it can give the tile a little bit more strength, because you're gonna have that constant coming and going and stepping down in that spot. You're gonna want that strength built there, and that's what the backer board is gonna provide a little bit more of too.
Will that work in a bathroom?
Yep. Bathrooms are one of the big areas that we put it because it is moist or water resistant board. You're gonna place it all on the walls and you're gonna tape it up just like, it's gonna be almost like sheetrock. Put it on the walls, you're gonna tape it all up, and then you're gonna start putting your tile on that. On the walls, you won't have to put mortar behind it though, because you're not gonna be walking on the walls, so you don't have to worry about those void spots. So
But
once
for the bathroom floor, you, like you said, you'd have the subfloor and then you'd have the bathroom
Yep.
floor.
Yep.
And then your tile would be on that.
Correct.
Okay.
What about going over sheet linoleum?
With linoleum, I always recommend tearing it up first, just because the mortar doesn't bond very well to that the vinyl or the linoleums. So you stepping on it, it could pop that stuff right up. And linoleum has a little bit of compression to it. It's a little softer, and you don't want any kind of movement underneath the floor that's not necessary for the floor. So like you got that stepping on that linoleum spot, it's going to push it down and could cause your grout lines to crack open because it's going to be that shifting and stuff underneath.
Could you put the backer board on top of the vinyl?
You can, but once again, it's still going to have that compression underneath in spots. So I definitely recommend linoleum, getting right down to the subfloor. Can be a little tricky because they used to glue linoleum down, so you're sitting there with the scraper scraping it up. I've always told people it's a lot cheaper and a lot easier just to tear the subfloor up and pop down a new one. So,
What tile are you using up there? Did you tell us?
oh, so these were kind of just a clearance tile that we had sitting around that, it's a porcelain, once again, but yeah, it was just a cheaper one that we had lying around, grabbed it up, figured to use it for the class. But
You're putting spacers in there or not?
yep, I'm going to show you that. Like, I've been doing it a while. Like a lot of times I skip over the spacers and I can eyeball it. But the spacers, the way you put them in, put 2 in, 1 at the top and 1 at the bottom, and then you're going to shift your tile so it fits perfectly with those. Yep. Yeah. Yep. Was there anyone that wanted to give it a shot? I'll say I got a bunch of tiles I just cut the other night too that we can set up, and I can give everyone a chance here too at the end of the class to kind of give it a shot, laying the tiles in, spreading the mortar in the thin set. All right, so you want to come around here? Yep. Yep. Can you give this guy a shot here? Yep. So we're going to start down here. Just place it right again, lined up in there, and then we're going to put the spacers in, and we're going to space it out.
From there?
Yep.
Okay.
So push it down.
Okay.
Now,
No, that's where you.
one space there and one at the bottom, and then just push it in towards it, just like that.
Okay.
And then just
Do you recommend, like you see in all these books, measuring your room and
Yes.
starting in the center?
Yep.
So working out?
one thing, they say tiling is easy as 1, 2, 3. It's set, prep, and seal. So you set your floor up, get it ready for your tiling job. So that's putting the backer board down, sealing that up. Then prep is prepping the work and getting it ready. You're gonna, so I got a 5x5 area, or say 5 foot by 5.5. So I know I'm gonna have to cut one tile or one row of tiles because each tile comes in 12-inch sections. So my last row can either be 6 inches, or I can cut 3 inches off each side and make the other 2 9, and then the rest of them in the middle 12. So I'd recommend drawing out your floor plan, figuring out what your square footage is, find out how much tile you need. Always add 20% onto that for cuts, the waste that you're gonna be using. Then once you come in, get your tile, you get everything ready. Before you start any of the mortar and the thin set, take your tiles and lay them out on the floor. That way you can kind of see what it's gonna look like. See if you're actually gonna like that look on your floor before you throw on the glue and put it down there and realize, oh, I don't like that color. But definitely lay out the tile. Lay out the tile and see what it looks like. So you get to a corner that you realize you're gonna have to cut some pieces. Find out if there's a way that you can adjust the tile so it's gonna be big tiles here and little tiles there, or if it's gonna be in a corner that not many people are gonna be walking in, that out of sight, out of mind kind of area.
Now, you don't have to put a level on these.
We do, like if you know your floor is pretty level, then you will, or you won't have to, but we do sell tile spacers that have kind of like a little ledge underneath them. What you do is you put it in between the tile and you can kind of lift up one side to kind of level it out. Or if you find that, say, this side here is down too far, but this side is kind of sticking up, you're gonna pop the tile up and you're just gonna fill that area more in with some more of the thin set.
See, what I want to do is I'm going to do the whole floor.
Okay.
But there's a cabinet going on top of it. But I don't plan on that cabinet being there forever. That's why I want to do the whole floor. You know, they normally just do it right up to
the edge, yeah.
But it needs to be sort of square.
Yep.
See, so I see you just pressing down, and I'm using 1x1s. So do I get up my little 6-inch level?
If you're looking like your floor is pretty uneven throughout the most part.
No, it's pretty level, but it's not perfect.
Okay. Then yeah, you're gonna get that level out and you can kind of just set it on the spot. Set your level between the 2 tiles and find that you gotta lift one up, pull that tile out and just fill in a little bit more on the side that needs to go up more.
So I better not be spreading out too far.
Nope, like I said, work in a 3x3 area. Just keep working in 3x3s, 3x3, 3x3, and then keep going until you get to those areas that you need to go underneath the
So
cabinets.
if I get frustrated, I can just stop and pull the glue off and go and take a break.
Yep. No, and that's the nice thing. With your butter side,
Because I know I'm going to get kicked.
with your butter side, you can scrape it right off and put it right back in the bucket.
Okay, I'll practice that.
How much time would you have once you lay those down?
Probably about 10, 15 minutes, depending on what you're using. Like if you're using the mix it yourself, you only got about 5 to 10 minutes. These Premix ones, like this Omni Grip, I've had this thing open, mine open for a good hour or 2, and it still hasn't hardened over. So we are getting kind of short on time, so I'm gonna jump on to showing you how to grout.
Just don't
Yep.
mind me.
Go right ahead.
I'm just going to give it a touch. Now, if I get that stuff squirting up there, you gotta
With
drag
that,
out.
yep, I would get just like a piece of wood or something, or you can even use your spacers.
And just pull it out.
Yep,
Okay, and then put the gizmo in.
yep. So with grout, you don't have to do the whole tile. You just want to get it in the grout lines.
Thank you.
Yep. And make sure after 24 hours you've let the tile adhere to the floor, the mortar is fully cured. Come back, pop all of your tile spacers out.
How long did you say you used spacers again?
24 hours. Yep. And you just come in and you're just going to fill in the gap line or the grout lines.
Does that grout shrink at all?
The grout will shrink, and that's why you want to make sure that you fill in the lines nice. So you can't just kind of, boom, just like that. Go back, get like a big glob like this, and really push it in. And this part can be kind of messy. One thing, so they usually say don't do anything or touch it until 24 hours once again. But I always tell or have people get your sponge and touch up the tile. Like this way it saves you a lot of time of having to clean afterwards. If you clean the grout off your tile, but steer clear of the grout lines, it saves you a lot of time and hassle. So we have separate cleaners that are meant for cleaning what's called efflorescence. What it is, it's the calcified grout. The grout's been sitting on the tile for so long, the air has gotten to it, it is turned into a haze that's gonna get stuck to the tile. You gotta take that stuff and you gotta scrub the heck out of it. But if you clean it up beforehand, it saves you a lot of time there.
What about the sealer you were talking about though?
The Grout Shield.
Yeah.
Yep, so with the Grout Shield, you put that in with only the mixed yourself ones. So I wouldn't be able to use it with the premixed, but you're gonna mix it in with the powder and then add some water and get that consistency of peanut butter once again. And once you spread it on the tile, it's gonna seal your grout. So you wouldn't wanna use that stuff with stone just because you don't wanna seal the whole job with stone. This stuff works with porcelain and with ceramic.
When they were doing the tiling for my shower wall, I noticed that in spots because I was using the bigger slates. I noticed that they were putting like that blue painter's tape is what it looked like over it, and they said that was because the tiles were so big inside the shower that, you know, it would help hold them.
Yep, so a lot of, like when you're putting tile on a wall, so like our backsplashes and stuff, that's what we have is called gravity, pulls things down. And that's why we use the blue tape. The tape will hold that tile onto the wall and keep it in that spot. So I've used marble is one of the big ones because marble is real heavy, slate, really any stone. What's called slump too, the thin set will slide kind of to the wall. And that's why I use that tape to kind of hold the tile there and keep it from sliding.
Now you said you clean up the tile, but don't touch the grout.
Yep.
So when that dries, if you have it all lumpy, I mean, don't you?
I mean, you'll still, so before you finish up everything, just take your trowel, your grout float, and skim off any kind of lumps that are on there. And so like this one has that rounded edge, what you do is you take it and run it right on the grout line, just like that.
What's the difference between thin set and mastic?
Thin set is the mix it yourself. It's concrete. Mastic is just glue. That's what it is.
Are backsplashes actually more difficult to do because of gravity? And even though it's a small area, the detailing, is the floor really easier?
Floor is easier because of the bigger pieces. Bigger pieces are easy to work with and set. These ones.
The pattern is exactly on the floor when you're doing a backsplash.
Correct.
So you have to kind of know what you're cutting ahead.
Yep, and with these ones, you won't really be able to use very many spacers. So it's gonna be a lot more of the eyeballing and make sure you get it all lined up right. Where with backsplashes, it's trickier just because you do have that gravity aspect in there. So you're gonna wanna do probably a row of 3 foot by, say, most backsplashes are about 18 inches high. You're gonna be cutting them, and nice thing with these guys is they are very easy to cut. So say I got my 18-inch section, then I need 6 inches more. Every backsplash is 12 inches. So I'm just gonna get right in the middle, take a knife, and cut the mesh backing on the back of it. And then use that to put on top of the 12-inch piece to finish up my backsplash. And most time you don't have to, if it's, I don't know, say your backsplash is 19 inches. It's gonna be a little trickier because you can't really cut these in half lengthwise. Most time, the countertops, you can have that an inch or so from the bottom of the countertop, just because most people are standing above the counter or the cabinets. They're not gonna be sitting there looking underneath it like that all the time. Or you can try and find a tile that's a little thinner. For example, we got one here. They are 1/2-inch pieces. So these are a little easier to work with because they're smaller pieces. So it's possible then you could get that 9 inches out of it.
I would think that'd be easier to match up side by side.
Yep, with these, with the square ones, they are a lot easier. You just want to make sure that you get them perfectly squared to the wall. I mean, you get it off a little bit. This one, you wouldn't have to. This guy is real lightweight. This is more plastic pieces is what they are. On this one, yep, you'll still want to use that tape to kind of hold it to the wall and keep it from slipping.
What do you use to cut those rascals in?
These guys? These use the glass tile nipper. Yep, and just find the piece that you want.
What is that?
This is a glass tile nipper.
Would that work on a metal?
No, it will not. Metal pieces, so say you run into a metal piece, what I recommend is cut that metal piece out and find a ceramic or another tile piece and just pop it in that place. It's a little trickier to cut the metal ones. You have to get either a metal saw or a tin snips or something like that to actually get it. So with the glass tile nippers, you can pull these pieces right off pretty much. Take it where you want to cut it. Cuts it right where you got it. It's a little jagged, so I will take the nippers and just kind of trim it up a little bit to get it so it's smooth all the way across.
So you were saying to tape it to the wall, you're talking about you put the bottom layer on first and then tape it and let that dry?
So put the bottom layer on, put the second layer, and run a piece of blue painter's tape right down the whole thing.
Oh, okay.
And that will hold it all up.
Okay. So you're not really taping it to anything?
No, it's, yep, and that's just going to keep it from slipping down. We do have mortars that are anti-slump. They won't slide, and they are made for heavy-duty stone tiles, but they get pretty pricey to use.
You had mentioned leaving a space and, with the quarter round and stuff, not right up to the wall. But a lot of bathrooms, including mine, are tile to tile all over. So how does that?
So we have chair rails is what they're called. They are pieces that are rounded so that you can, you got your wall of tile, they'll fit right in there to kind of fill that spot in. Otherwise you can take the tile and run the tile up like that and just drop down the other piece and kind of do something like that and just grout right in this section there.
So yeah, so that's all sealed.
Yep.
Okay.
All right, looks like my time is coming up. Thank you guys for coming. Any kind of questions, I work almost every day at the Home Depot. Stop on in. If you guys got any questions, I am more than willing to help out. And
Which Home Depot?
oh, Bloomington, right off American Boulevard. Yep.
Here we come tomorrow.
Great job, Andrew.